The men's soccer season is right around the corner. They start this Saturday night here at home against Brescia. And to look ahead to the 2020 season, I am joined by their head coach, Gary Ross. Gary, obviously all of our lives have been changed greatly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You and
Yeah.
your guys had no spring season. There are different things that you have to go through now with protocols and masks and social distancing here in the fall. So how has all of those things changed what you guys have to do here in the start of the fall season compared to when you maybe would have had the spring season and in a normal fall?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I'd say maybe the first thing I think we are is we're pretty grateful to even be playing right now. I mean, you have all the Division, two, three, maybe Division One schools even as well. Just having seasons canceled and not being able to do what it is that we're able to do. So I think first off, I think we're kind of grateful. I think despite what people think about all the protocols and whatnot, I mean, we're just, we'll do what it takes for us to have a season. And so I'm wearing masks out there and the guys are wearing masks and we're limiting our time inside. We're not doing as many meetings, indoors. When we're out on the practice field, we're trying to remain, distanced 6 feet, so that we can just have a season, and so that's sort of just those are sort of the practical things that we've been doing, just to make sure that we're, sorted out in terms of the COVID stuff. In terms of the tactics and everything we've had to adjust to because we didn't have the time to work in the spring. I think those are, we are definitely changing the way we're playing. We tried a little bit of this last year on probably the first half of the year. It looked a little more offensively minded, and then it just wasn't working out. So we had to pivot a bit and go a little bit more defensively minded. But this fall we've sort of doubled down and we're going all in on the attack. And so we've changed systems, we've changed style of play, and it's going to be it's just going to be more attack minded. At the end of it, I think we have some better players coming in this fall that will help us in that possession style that we're looking to go after. And we'll see what happens.
How tough is it to try to change things tactically? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this might have been something you would have started to implement in the spring. Obviously, no spring season. So is that something maybe you have to kind of really accelerate and kind of hammer into the guys like, hey, you guys have to figure this out because we've got a game in 2 weeks and we haven't had the normal amount of time to figure this new system?
Yeah, I would say it definitely is that. I mean, we've had a number of training sessions that we're just sort of repeating the basic fundamental things that we would have done last spring, and we're having to do that right now, which is fine. Actually, I think in some senses it's actually helped us to prioritize what's most important, and we're just focusing on keeping it kind of simple. So, in terms of just training sessions, how we're designing them, what we're doing in them, they're sort of the three basic pillars. We're just throwing at our guys with respect to how we want to keep the ball. And we just keep hammering that in over and over and over and over and over again. And it keeps it simple. Perhaps we won't be able to be as, intricate with particularities before the season begins, but we've also had, the season was pushed back. Normally we've started and had our first game, I think I want to say like August 15th to the 18th, something like that for the last few years. Our first game isn't until September 5th. And our guys came in the 15th. And so we still had, what is that, 20 days, something like that, to be able to train. And then we still have a week and a half after our first game before we play our first league game.
You obviously graduate seniors every year. Last year, Luke Williams, his time here at Taylor came to a close and ended his spectacular career. So the big question is who takes over as the keeper for the Trojans here this fall?
Yeah, well, we're battling it out a little bit right now. Most likely, I think it'll be Joaquin Hansen. We call him Chino. So I think Chino will be in the goal. He's very, very good with his feet. He played a little bit in the field last year for us, but he's very good with his feet, understands the game very well, and he can make some really, really nice saves as well. I would say Jacob Shashud is our backup at this point, and he's a guy that is very athletic, can make the really unbelievable save, really can. And we're just trying to get him up to speed with some of the other aspects of the game, particularly in possession. and how it is that we will use our keepers in possession. So it's a good problem to have when you have guys that can make good saves and they're having to fight for the spots or for the spot. But yeah, I think at this point it looks like Chino's probably going to be the guy to start things off.
We talked about all these different changes off the top. One of the other changes is to the schedule this year. They're splitting the Crossroads League into 2 different divisions, 5 teams in each side. So you'll play each team in your division twice, and you'll play a crossover game once. So more league games, an earlier start to the league, as you mentioned, in September. How does that change things with only one non-conference game this Saturday against Brescia? So there aren't a lot of chances for you to work things out for the games really, really matter.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, everyone has to face it, so it's not like it's something that we are uniquely facing as a program. In addition, we start off at home with a number of our games, which I think is obviously an advantage to get kind of used to, the schedule. It's always better to play, I think, at home than it is away, particularly as you look at the statistics and the data for the last probably 10 years within the Crossroads League. It's amazing how much more home teams win than the away teams. So, I think the fact that we have, a bunch of home games on the front end really benefits us. I think it's a cool schedule, honestly. I've been a guy that within our league has tried to, I've at least floated the idea out that I think it would be great for us to play like nothing but league games for a season and just kind of see what that looks like, right? To be a home and an away within your league. There's some issues with that in terms of national rankings and how you calibrate your team with respect to the teams you're competing against outside of your league for national rankings and things like that. So there's some real issues with it, but I think COVID kind of provided us an opportunity to kind of do a hybrid of that. And so we do have the 8 games that we play in our pod, and then we have the 5 crossover games to the guys that aren't in our pod. And I just think it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to have that many games, that count, 5 more games than what we would otherwise play. I guess it's 4 more games than we would otherwise play, for league play. Maybe it's 5. I don't know. However many games it is extra that we're doing in our league. I think it'll just be fascinating because, everyone's going to bring it right away. It's pretty intense. As we've seen over the past few years, probably the last 5, there's maybe been one team occasionally that will pop up that will be significantly better, let's say, than the rest, but the rest are just kind of all in it together. And there hasn't been that much separating. And so, now I think we'll be able to see a little bit, like really who are the best teams, right? Because when you play that many games against each other, it shows up over time. So we're excited to see what happens for sure.
Well, Gary, thanks for the time. Best of luck against Brescia on Saturday afternoon, and best of luck with the rest of the 2020 season.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
That is Gary Ross, the Taylor Men's Soccer head coach, joining me today to stay up to date with everything Taylor Men's Soccer. Just log on to TaylorTrojans.com.